Maybe. Welcome, Utah wrestling fans. We're here again. It's been a little while. We're going to talk a little 4A, 5A state tournament since we start tomorrow. But getting there, up to this point, we've had, the youth season's over. We had Super State champions won that again. Team Prestige came second. We had the state tournament this week. And then UVU wrestles Stanford on Friday at UVU at 7 o'clock. Stanford's ranked, I think, 16th. So make sure you guys come on out and support the Wolverines. Utah Valley had a big win over North Dakota State. I think they were ranked 23rd at the time this last week and dropped the close one to South Dakota State the day after. So anyways, that's what's coming up. That's what we got today. We're talking 4A, 5A state tournament. I guess let's start out with 5A. Nate, kind of what are your initial thoughts on the 5A state tournament?
Oh, well, I think PG's in trouble. Their championship streak might come to a halt, although with Stutzman out of the lineup for Layton, that could have hurt Layton. It's going to be really close, and that 20-something points right there that Stutzman probably would have scored.
We not only had Stutzman out of the lineup, but their heavyweight. I know Mike Avuki has been their heavyweight for the year, but I mean they lost what's his name?
I think they lost Mehmet too.
Well, you lost Mehmet, you lost Stutzman, and you lose
Dylan Tucker.
Dylan Tucker. And maybe Dylan doesn't place, maybe he does. I don't know. Same with Mehmet, but they both score points. And Stutzman is a possible finalist, and so you take Stutzman, you take Tucker, you take Mehmet out, you're up what 30, 40, possibly 50 points. So
yeah, minimum of 30 for sure.
Right.
I mean, maybe there's some tough 106 pounders. I wouldn't say Stutzman's a sure finalist or would have been in that. There's some good
reps. On paper,
right, no.
Definitely have one of the favorites.
But yeah, I think all three of them win matches, and Stutzman probably places and maybe goes all the way. He's also capable of going all the way too.
Right. So, I mean,
you know what? On 5A, real quick, Jeff, I'm worried about making any kind of prediction until I see the weigh-ins, because this might sound weird, but if there's another skin disqualification like what happened to Stutzman, or something like that, that could really impact the race. So it's almost like one of these things until everyone crosses the scale and is in the tournament. It's kind of, I'm almost wary to make a prediction.
Yeah, I mean, you never know with skin checks at divisionals. A few people got disqualified, and like you said, state tournament, who knows? I mean, they're strict come state and divisionals. So yeah. So I mean, looking at it, and I think we all can agree that 5A is a two-team race. You have Layton and you have Pleasant Grove. I don't know. Do you guys think there's any other teams that could possibly sneak in there?
I don't know.
Yeah. So looking at Layton has 20 qualifiers. PG has 17. So Layton has the numbers. And so I went down through the list, and, I count Layton 6 finalists for Layton is what I'm thinking. I think PG can get 5. It's not a guarantee 5 though, but I think Layton 6 is a more guaranteed than PG's 5. I think Layton has 5 additional placers, but I think PG could get 6 additional placers. We got 11 each placing, each, 6 finalists, 5 places for Layton, 5 finalists, 6 placers for PG. I do think PG has the harder roads. Like, there's kids in there that I think are placers that may not place. And one key weight for PG is going to be, I think it's 138. You look at 138, that's, let me double check here. You got Zorn and you got Jackson Moore. I think that's a key weight for PG, because Zorn, he should win his first match. It's against a Weber kid. he should win that first match. His second match, he's going to run into Dylan Gregerson, and Gregerson obviously is going to be favored in that match. So if Gregerson beats Zorn in the quarterfinals, then he's going to drop down, and there could be a potential Zorn versus Jackson Moore, wrestling that next round, and someone's going to bump each other out unless Jackson Moore can beat Ryan Hansen of Skyview. So Jackson Moore's got to win that first round match against Ryan Hansen. Otherwise, you're going to have a situation where they may bump each other out.
Yeah,
so,
I noticed that too. And to me, it really comes down to me, though, they need a big run out of Oakley Ridge at 106. They got to, get him into the finals, and I think he's got to go through Denton and, maybe the Mountain Crest wrestler.
Mogul.
Mogul. They got to have him in the finals, and they probably need to get Tatioli in the finals as well.
I would expect Tatioli to get in the finals.
Yeah, I think his road's a little easier than Oakley Ridge's, but yeah, I do think there's less air for PG. I think they can't really they got to get those 5, you say, Jeff, into the finals. They really got to have that.
And you figure, I think Zorn at 20, he'll get to the finals. Like you said, Oakley, he has a potential to get to the finals, but it's not an easy road. You have Zorn, I think, will get to the finals. Derek Fisher should get to the finals. Clausen should get to the finals. Tautioli should get to the finals. 38, I think, is a big weight for PG, in determining, how they end up doing, and Jackson Moore getting through that first round and placing somehow, coming back through and placing. Even if he gets through that first round, it's not going to be easy, and Zorn finding a way to get back through too. And again, that one's not going to be easy. So those two, I think, are big ones for PG. I think, 160 Brantley Johnson, I think that's another big one. I think it's 160. Yeah, 60 at Brantley Johnson. I think he has a chance to get to the semifinals. But if he doesn't get to the semifinals, he may not place. So again, you have 138 and 160 for PG, in my opinion, could be the two weights that either make it or break it for them on getting that 7th state title. If Brantley Johnson can get to the semis, and then if PG can get in Zorn and or Moore, I think both of those are two important ones to do.
Hey, Jeff, but you also got to think too, how many guys like Nick Lund and guys like that are on PG that may not place, but they could win 2 or 3 matches.
Right. Well, Nick Lund's another one at 45. Yeah. That's kind of one of those up in the air kids. He's got, Wilson first round. I would expect him to win first round match, and then he's going to run into Kelby Kendall. And that's a winnable match for Nick Lund if he's wrestling well. So another situation where he could get to the semifinals, but if he does not get to the semifinals, there's no sure thing he's placing. So again, 45 for PG, they've got to get Nick Lund through. Otherwise, again, it's another one miss. At 52, you have Dotson, I think, again, can get to the semifinals. He's going to run into probably, I'm guessing, Schulte of Taylorsville in the quarterfinals, which, again, is a winnable match for him. But if he does not win that match, he's going to have a tough time placing, because if he doesn't win that match, he's going to have to come back and either beat Shad Priest or Braden Stevens, whoever lost in that other quarterfinal. So you're looking at a situation with PG again at 52. Dotson either gets to the semis or possibly doesn't even place. So, PG.
The quarterfinal round's huge, then, is what you're saying.
Say that again?
The quarterfinal round is huge.
Right. For PG, I think the quarterfinal round could be where it's won or lost. And then at 52, you have Harrison Sperry again. I would expect him to win his first round match. I'm expecting to lose in the quarters. And again, coming back through, he actually has a good road to come back through if he loses in the quarters. So again, 38, 45, 52, 60 for PG. I guess, I started out with just 38 and 60, but I'm going to add 45 and 52.
How about the big fellas?
I think the big fellas for PG, I think what you're going to get. I think, let's see, you got 195 Calcioli. I would expect him to get to the finals. Clausen, I would expect him to get to the finals with a bunch of pins at that. Probably pin his way to the finals.
How about 285? How are they sitting there?
285 Wilkinson. He.
I could see him in the semis.
Yeah, I mean, Keegan Wilkinson, he has Filoso from American Fork. I would expect him to win that. It's not a pushover win by any means. Semis, or in the quarters, he's going to have a Viewmont kid, which Viewmont kid I would expect to be possibly slightly favored, but not by any means. He could win it. I don't see him winning in the semis. But I think he can place. I think he will place, especially if he gets, obviously he gets to semis, he places, but if he wins his first round match, the chances of him placing, I think, are pretty high. So again, I think 38, 45, 52, 60s, that quarterfinal round is going to be a make or break for PG, in my opinion. I think Leighton, it's more cut and dry where Leighton's going to be, and I think PG, if they can get those 4 weights through, I think they win it. If they don't, then I think Leighton might end up winning it. So
I mean, Leighton's got those, I almost count them as sure things right there, 13, 20, 26. I think Clem looks really strong at 82.
Well, and you got 70. I think they'll get in at 70. And that's probably the one question mark.
Yeah, I feel good about Porritt going through, but not maybe as good as the others. And,
right.
Anna, he's a little bit of a wild card. He's really super talented. He's fun to watch, but he's had some issues. So, and that's the thing with Pleasant Grove. They're going to give it their best shot. They got that tradition of getting it done. And I actually think Leighton, they got more talented wrestlers. It's just kind of, that PG tradition and just performing on the big stage be enough to maybe for the Vikings to knock them off.
Right.
I think the talent's in Leighton's corner.
And, for Leighton, Tyson Humphries is definitely the favorite at 113, but he's going to run into a tough Jeremy Evans in the semifinals, and he's going to run into probably Tate Bennett in the finals. I think Humphries is the favorite, but, again, it's not kind of like Porritt. Porritt, I would say, it's a favorite to get to the finals, but it's not going to be easy. I think Benedict gets there easily. I think Quintana gets there. Who else is there? You got Bearclough. I think that, Bearclough, Benedict, Clem, and Quintana, I think all get there. And then I think, I think Humphries will get there. And I think Porritt will get there. But I think, out of those 6, Humphries and Porritt probably have the toughest road to get there.
And they might get something out of, their heavyweight as well. They might make a run to the semis or something.
Well, yeah, Vuki's tough. He's beaten some good guys. I think he's beaten Riley Taylor this year. So, but Vuki, the problem is he's going to have Avendano in the quarterfinals.
Yeah, he's healthy. That's the big thing, right?
Right. That's what I'm saying. He beat Riley Taylor. It's not out of the question he beats Avendano, but I think Avendano's favored. And then if he can get past Avendano in the quarters, he'll probably have Wells or more, I guess, in the semis, which I almost think is a more winnable match for Vuki than Avendano. So if he can get past Avendano in the quarters, I think his chance to get into the finals are actually decent. But it obviously would be tough. If Vuki gets to the finals, then I think, PG's chances go way down, because that's definitely not one I was planning on them getting to the finals, but it's a possibility. So, anyways, those are my thoughts on the 5A team race, kind of what PG needs to do, what Leighton needs to do, and I think this could be definitely a team race to follow. It's going to be good. So,
yeah, and like I said, I think those 2 are ahead. I see Mount Crest in the 3rd position, but way back, fighting with Viewmont, maybe Fremont, because they got a lot of individual firepower. But yeah, it's a 2-team race, and it should be a really good one. You can see but I predicted a tie, just like in 1991.
That's bold, but
That is bold or chicken, whatever, you know. But you know, that'd be cool if it happened again, wouldn't it?
it would, I guess.
And
So
what do you see, Nate? I mean, you've been kind of quiet.
Oh, well, I just think, yeah, with Leighton's star power, does PG have enough in the backups to make it happen? And that's, that's where state championships are won. I remember, what was it, 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, that Maple Mountain had, 6 or 7 state champs, and they still lost the team race with the Mountain Crest.
Yeah.
Because Mountain Crest had more guys come through the back door and place than Maple Mountain did. So
But you know what? I don't see this in that same light. I don't think Leighton does probably have a little bit more star power, but I don't think it's lopsided like the Maple Mountain Mountain Crest.
You're probably right.
You know, I think, like I said, I see Leighton getting 6 in, I see PG getting 5. And then on the placement, I see Leighton pulling in 5, and I see PG pulling in 6. So for me, I don't see it very lopsided. You know, I think, you know, and also history is on PG's side over Leighton. I mean, we've been in this position before where Leighton looked to have a great team, and you know, things happened and they didn't come through. And so, you know, PG has a history of coming through when it counts. And, you know, does that play a factor? Can PG pull it through again? I think, you know, if they can pull through a 7th one, I'll be impressed for sure.
Yeah. Well,
okay. So answer this question, Brian and Jeff, is does Leighton, like, is it going to come down to bonus points? I mean, as far as pins and getting those technical early periods, those earlier, you know, first and second rounds, is that what's going to determine this race? Is it going to be that close, or is it going to be, you know, basically come down to just places?
See, I think bonus points could be huge in this team race, and you know, with having 11-11 as far as getting into the placement rounds, I think, you know, Clausen he's a pinner. Like, he's going to get pin points, you know, and that could be possibly a difference. You know, 1 or 2 pins it could come down to, and you know, Leighton's going to have to find ways to get pins and get people back through the back door. And
I don't think they're real big pinners. Now you go through Humphreys and Bearclough and Benedict. They're not big pinners. I mean, most of their, you know, they're mostly decision guys or majors. They're not techs or pinners.
right.
PG has a few more pinners on their side, so maybe that could be the difference.
Well, it could be. Yeah, I hate to bring it up again. You know, either of these teams loses a guy because they have a skin element or don't make weight, that could throw the balance of things. To me, I think it really comes down to a couple, you know, Jeff pointed out a couple really key quarterfinal matches where, you know, PG places or they don't place. And then I really think they got to have that big run out of Oakley. And, you know, like I said, he's got a tough road to hoe with Mogul and maybe Denton. You know, I don't know where the West Jordan wrestlers. But you know, he's got to beat those guys and, you know, get in the final. I think that is just huge. Because to me, that's kind of the unknown question mark right there for me, is how deep can Oakley go, and then, like Jeff said, you know, those 2, 3, 4 quarterfinals, can they get into the semis and place versus maybe being beat in the quarters and then they cross bracket with some other guy that they can't beat and they get beat in the heartbreak round or something like that. So to me, that's kind of where I see the tournament coming down to.
So it seems like, you know, it seems like to me, Leighton has to do what they have to do. They have to pretty much do as expected. PG, you know, it seems like PG has a few more kind of have to do this and this and this. And like we talked about, like you said, Brian Oakley needs to get to the finals. That's a big one for them. They've got to get 38, 45, 52, and 60, those 4 weights in the quarterfinals rounds. They got to be able to get people through. So anyways, 5A fans.
Yeah, it's great. And you got some other individuals that are be fun to watch, Cole Moody, Mason Christiansen, Binghamton. I'm anxious to see how far he can go as a freshman.
Yeah, Mason will be fun to see. So anyways, 5A fans, it's getting late. We'll move on to 4A. That's our kind of 5A preview team race, kind of what to look for tomorrow and Thursday as you're watching. I know a lot of people go there for the individual kids, but this will be a team race that pay attention. Now you know which weights to watch, kind of which rounds are important, what PG needs to do, what Layton needs to do, depending on what side of the fence you're on. You'll kind of know what to watch and either hope for PG to do or hope for PG not to do, and same with Layton. So anyways, let's move to 4A. Nate, you're a Wasatch guy. We all know Wasatch is favored. I don't think that's a secret. Put you on the spot here. From Wasatch, can they be beat? Like, is there not a team race in the 4A, or is the team race something to watch?
With the loss of Trevor Clough and Trevor Clyde, and not getting neither of our heavyweights through, yeah, that made the race a lot closer. And we lost, probably, I would say, 40 points, 20, maybe between 30 and 40 points right there.
Brian, what are your thoughts, Brian? You think there's a team race here?
Team race, but it's going to be for second place. That'll be the interesting team race. I don't know. Wasatch kind of obliterating the field. I mean, they're going to have 6, 7 kids in the finals. Heck, they could get Seth Gardner in the finals opposite of Haywood. They're just going to have a lot of finalists, and I see Payson maybe 4 or 5. Didn't really see enough out of UN at the divisional tournament to make me feel comfortable about seeing them as a factor in things. And I don't know, Box Elder, they seem to have a little bit of a down divisional too. They were third behind Salem Hills quite a bit. That was sort of shocking to me. But I would say Payson's a good, strong second. But I don't know. I'm big impressed with Wasatch. I always have been.
So Nate, here's a question for you. You might know this. Etheridge at 106. Has he wrestled Slack? Have they wrestled? Who won that match?
They wrestled at, I believe, 4A state duels in the final.
Do you remember who won that match? I had
Slack won. I think.
Slack won.
Slack won. Was it a close match, or was it one that could go either way?
I think he Slack pinned him.
Yeah, I think Cole or Etheridge can. It depends. Sometimes Slack makes a couple mistakes in a match that it definitely keeps the matches closer than I feel like they should be.
Yeah.
So
you look at that duel, Jeff. And I think in that particular duel, Wasatch won 12 of 14 ways, and you got Lovelace in there, and maybe I'd call him the favorite over Corbin Smith, and maybe they don't move Wyatt up and keep him at 70, and he wins there. So that sort of means like Wasatch wins 9 or 10 matches in that duel. That's pretty tough to overcome.
So here's my thoughts on the 4A. I think just for the sake of getting people excited about a team race, Wasatch has 18 people in. Payson has 21. Uinta has 22. So Uinta definitely has the advantage as far as participants in the state tournament.
I thought Payson had 23. I messed that up, I guess.
Wasatch, with knowing that Slack beat Etheridge also 5-0. I think it was a rumble. I just looked. Slack has a good chance to get to the finals. And so Wasatch could have possibly 8 to 9 finalists. I mean, that's unbelievable when you're talking 14 weight classes.
Yeah, that's what exactly what I see.
Besides the finalists, though, I only see 2 kids getting through, and so I see Wasatch getting 10 to 11 placers. Now Payson, I think Payson has obviously an uphill road, but I think Etheridge pulling the upset over Slack in the semifinals is huge. I think they got to do something like that's got to happen. Tyler Manukin at 52 has got to get into the finals, which I think he has a road.
I'm predicting that. Yeah.
What?
I'm predicting he'll get there. Yeah.
And so he has a road to get in, but he's got to get to the finals. At 170, Judd has got to find a way to place. That's another one that's, I think, key for Payson is Judd's got to find a way to get in. And then, the heavyweight for Payson, again, heavyweight's kind of always a wild card. You never know what you're going to get at heavyweight. And so somehow Payson's heavyweight's got to find a way to get in. So if Payson's heavyweight can get in, if Judd can get into the placing at 170, and then Manu can get in the finals, Etheridge gets in the finals, that gives Payson 5 finalists and 7 placers. That's 12 overall placers. Now I think we have a team race. Now Seth Gardner he needs to get beat. He can't get to the finals. Wilder Smith at 220, can't place. So again, for Payson, I think to have a shot here, a lot of things have to fall into place. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. I definitely wouldn't bet my house on it either. But, there are things that can happen.
We'll probably have 2 place at 106 also.
Right. And so there's a lot of things that have to happen to give Payson a shot, in my opinion. And then, bringing Uinta into the mix, I see Uinta with three finalists and 9 placers. So we're looking at 12 overall. We're looking at Wasatch, the 10 range, and Payson, the 10 to 12 range. And so, Uinta's, in my opinion, is a wild card. They were beating Wasatch until the finals at divisionals, and then obviously Wasatch, got past them in the divisionals.
Well, I think the field will be obviously at state much tougher. And
yeah, but Uinta has a lot of kids that sometimes show up and sometimes don't. And so if their kids show up,
well, they need to get spewing on fire. They got to get
right. That's what I'm saying. You get spewing on fire. You get Dietz on fire. These kids get on fire and pull a couple upsets, and now you got Uinta in the team mix. And so
I'm worried about Tomlinson making it through because
Tomlinson has a tough road for sure.
There's and I think he's on the same side as Larson, and
Tomlinson has a tough road. I mean, a lot of these kids have tough roads. Trying to
because in some ways I predict him to get there, but I'm worried about that because he's light and he's had some injury issues, and and look at that Cade Carlson at a corner can't just come out of nowhere like on fire,
Right.
I'm not, you win. I could see them having 4 or 5 in the finals. I could see them maybe just having 1.
Right. Then that's the wild card with Uinta. They have some kids that they have caught fire before. Can they do it again? That's the question. And if they catch fire again, we're looking at possible. I mean, obviously, like I said, things have to really fall not in favor of Wasatch. But if those things happen, if Judd finds a way to place, if the heavyweight for Payson finds a way to place, Wilder Smith doesn't place, Gardner doesn't get to the finals, Manukin gets in, Etheridge gets in, now we're looking at a possible team race in the 4A. Granted, I get it. It's a lot of things have to happen. But for those watching and want a team race in the 4A, those are some of the things to watch for, to see if a team race could develop here. So
yeah, what I see in 4A, I see a lot of good wrestlers that aren't Wasatch, Payson, or UN, or even Box Elder and Salem Mills. Woods Cross got a couple, Kearns has got a couple, Corner Canyon's got a couple. And what I'm getting at is, major spoilers here. Highland, Lilo Clark, can you go in there and, beat Seth Gardner maybe and kind of keep Wasatch down a little bit, I just see some pretty good wrestlers. Gabe Terry, Mountain View, he's going to be in there. Is he going to, prevent somebody getting through, that could. I think out of Payson, Jeff, you need some big tournaments out of some guys like Brock Lovelace and
Yeah.
Quade Valerio, maybe winning a match or two as a JV guy. You mentioned Judd. I think Kel Ford. They need to give maybe a win or two out of him. Payson's got to have everything fall right. They, but 4A, I think that field is so tough, and I just have a lot of confidence. Wade Disher, I got a lot of confidence in Wasatch that those 8 or 9 guys get through, and I just don't feel as comfortable with Payson getting 5 or 6 in there, or UNA getting 3 or 4, or anything like that. But I do feel comfortable about Wasatch getting 8 or 9 in the finals.
Right. No, definitely Wasatch, has the easier road. They have more give. I mean, they can drop a few matches and still probably win the title. But you never know. Anything can happen in the state tournament. Kid like you said, Brian, skin checks, don't make weight, they're sick. I mean, a lot of things can happen, and you just never know. And even though I fully expect Wasatch to win it this week, you just never know. I mean, there are possibilities. It's not out of the realm of possibility that Payson or UNT can step in and challenge. A lot of things have to happen, though. I get it. So
yeah, I think that race for there could be a really fun race for second place between Payson and UNA. And, maybe if Box Elder, they got Bingham through with the big 3 with Ricks and Taylor and obviously
and that's
Party,
and that's one that where Haywood at 120 for Wasatch, he's going to run into Wyatt Sharp, a Uinta guy in the quarters. That's huge for Uinta. And Wyatt Sharp's tough, but that's one that maybe they could pull him upset. Then you got Austin Bingham in the semis with Haywood, and again, 2 opportunities for other schools to keep a Wasatch kid out and give Payson Uinta a shot. Because Haywood is one of those kids I had in the finals for Wasatch. So and I know Nate, with Stockton. I mean, Stockton's going to run into Smune in the quarterfinals. And Stockton's going to have to be ready to go.
He probably had one of the tougher roads.
Right. I mean, and even with Stockton, it's not an easy road for Stockton. I think we all expect everyone's expecting Stockton to win it, but and I almost think his quarterfinal match is going to be tougher than the semis match.
Yeah. I would think so. Depends on which goes up.
That's where he picks up Smune possibly in the quarter.
Right, he hits Smune in the quarters.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, Smune, he's dangerous. Sometimes he looks like $1 million bucks, and sometimes he doesn't look so great. He's kind of an unknown factor there. And I think a lot of the UNA kids are that way. Sometimes one tournament they just don't look very good, and the next tournament they look like they look like stars. It's Payson. I think Wyatt. They're brothers, I imagine, right? Wyatt and Austin.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they got to have a big tournament, and I don't know. I think the one that won 13, he's probably a stronger candidate to make the finals. You think there, Jeff?
Yeah, and I think that again another one for Payson, if they can somehow get Wyatt Horn in the finals, he's gonna run into. I would expect him to get to the semis. Although his quarterfinal match against Ryan Larson isn't a pushover, that will be a tough one. Ryan's tough. If he gets to the semis, he's going to have Quentin Mortimer, and Quentin's been wrestling well, so that will be a tough one. But if Wyatt can somehow find a way to get to the finals again, that's another one for Payson that might bring him a little bit closer, in the team race. So,
well, how about this match? It's not maybe a team thing, as far as winning the tournament, but Van Tassel versus Van Tassel. What do you think about that one? That's going to
be a semifinal match. Van Tassel versus Van Tassel, and you got Monroe. Monroe should get to the finals on the other side pretty easy, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, have they wrestled yet this year? Van Tassel and Van Tassel? They wrestled once, didn't they?
Yeah.
Brandon won that one.
Yeah. So,
but
that'll be a good one.
Well, and the thing about Salem Hills, they had a great divisional. I was real impressed with how they wrestled. You know, I'm be kind of interesting. Obviously I don't think they're a trophy threat, but man, could they maybe get third? You know, could they slip past maybe UNA if they didn't wrestle very well, or beat Box Elder again or Maple Mountain? That would be interesting to see to me. And that would be a big stepping stone for that program.
Yeah, that would be good for the program. So, anyways, there's your 4A. Any other thoughts on the 4A team race, individuals? Any other thoughts on 4A? I think we pretty much covered 4A and 5A pretty well.
Watch, if there's any halfway novice fans that listen to this podcast, but eyeball that Brock Hardy. He's just very fun to watch, and try to he's just one of those guys that you'll want to keep an eye on, especially in a semi and finals when he gets a little bit tougher competition. And he's just definitely really fun to watch. And there's so many good freshmen in 4A and 5A. That's just going to be fun. I don't know how many freshmen we might have, 4 or 5 in the finals in the 4A. And maybe 3 or 4 in the 5A as well. And I just can't believe how. I don't know what you guys think real quick before we go, but this freshman class, where does it stack up with you guys?
I mean, I think it's a good class. I mean, you got off the top of my head, Humphreys in 5A, Haywood, even though he's been JV a lot of the year to club, I mean, he's a state finalist possible. Stockton, obviously he's another possible state champion. You got Cade Carlson at 220, who's kind of been getting better as the season goes on. I mean, those 4 off the top of my head are tough ones. So,
one thing I want to say I think is exciting. This could be big in some ways for growing the sport. I'd like to see Cooper Legas make a strong run.
Well, he's gonna have Seth Gardner in the semis. I think if anybody's gonna beat Gardner in the semis, before he gets to the finals, it's gonna have to be Cooper Legas.
But because I think it's just exciting to me when you have a guy, in football, he's gonna, you don't see too many quarterbacks, especially at 4 and 5A, quarterbacks that are going to probably be very highly thought of out on the wrestling mat, and that could be really big for the Orem program, getting the football guys out and things like that. I see them turning the corner, maybe getting in there in the top 10, but but if he could do well, and that could change the landscape of getting more kids in the wrestling that we traditionally are not getting right now, and especially at Orem High, and getting that program back to where it was. So
yeah, that'd be good. I mean, Cooper and Gardner in the semis should be a fun one to watch. So
yeah.
Anyways, there's our 4A, 5A preview for the state tournament coming up. Now you know what to look for, what to watch for, kind of to see what your team has to do to win a team title. Again, we'll be back hopefully on Thursday with a 1A through 3A. That's the plan as of right now. And we'll touch on 1A through 3A. And then Friday, UVU versus Stanford at UVU, 7 o'clock. Make sure you're there. 4A and 5A teams, you'll be done. Bring your teams over. Support UVU. 1A through 3A, come over if there's a break. Stanford's ranked, I think, 16th in the country. Should be a good duel, fun one to watch. Any last words, Brian or Nate, before we sign off here?
I'll let Nate go, and then one last thing to say.
I'm just excited. This is, I'm going to come from the parents at this point. It's going to be fun watching my son compete this weekend, and yeah, I'm sure that what's crazy about the high school state tournament, and this is something that I'm just going to touch on real quick before we end here. This is definitely not the toughest bracket my son's ever been in. It's probably not even the top 10. I don't even know if it's even in the top 20 as the toughest bracket he's ever been in. But you can't take out the emotion and the the nerves and the jitters because that's what all these kids talk about their whole life is winning the state title. Nobody says they had to place out in Reno. You don't stack up in Reno state champion, the Reno championships. You talk about are you a 4-time state champ, are you a 3-time state champ, a 2-time or 1-time? And that pressure mounts for those kids, and you get into those matches and I've seen kids almost hyperventilate in their first few, their first 30 seconds and they run out of gas. And so is that going to happen? I've seen big upsets, where I remember last year Tanner Cox got put on his back by Brandon Swan, and he was pinned. And that ref, if that ref would have got down there half a second sooner, he probably would have slapped that mat. And think about that. That would have been a huge upset right there. And that stuff happens. And I just think, you put all those nerves into it, and it can make for a very interesting state tournament.
Yeah, well said, Nate. And it is state, and like you said, it's not as tough as the Rockwell Rumble, but that's kind of what people glob onto, state, and I don't know. I just wanted to give it, I put some articles out there on the D News, and the Daily Herald should be running some stuff, and try to do some writing, a lot of writing this weekend. So maybe check that out. Just check the D News online, and should have a hard copy thing coming out in the Daily Herald tomorrow as well as online. So so there you have it. It should be a great tournament. And by the way, Nate Stockton, he's a heck of a wrestler. Excited to see him go tomorrow.
Okay, we're signing off until Thursday. We'll see you guys at the state tournament and then back here on Thursday.
Thanks, Jeff.